In this video, I'll be discussing the views of several theorists including Stella Brucey, John Grierson and Stephen Barnett in accordance to criticisms of Bill Nichols' theory of the 6 modes of documentaries. Stella Brucey harshly criticised Nichols in a variety of ways. She suggested that in most documentaries there are multiple modes rather than just one. By suggesting that documentaries only have one mode, Nichols is creating a metaphorical box and limiting producers in terms of how they make the documentaries themselves. Brucey heavily disputed Nichols' suggestion that documentaries aim for a perfect representation of the real. This is an impossible aim and undermines the documentary form because many documentary makers are restricted and cannot flourish to represent reality. Brucey believes that documentaries are all dependent on the real world. She quoted, "All types of documentary have existed at different times. What's the point of worrying about authenticity?" Another theorist who criticises Nichols is Stephen Barnett. Stephen Barnett believes that documentaries we watch nowadays have been dumbed down in order to win viewer ratings. He defines it as the need for producers to televise things to win ratings rather than to publish investigative, useful documentaries. He claims that documentaries are dumbed down for the audience or company because it's quick, it's the norm, and it's cheap. For instance, some of the modern-day documentaries Barnett would classify as being dumbed down are My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding and Teen Mom.
But there is one group of people in Britain who want perfection more than most.
I have a big wedding and a massive dress. Push at the sides!
This is the extravagant world of 21st century gypsy and traveller weddings, where ancient traditions and modern fashions collide.
One of the earliest documentary theorists was John Grierson. Genres of documentaries were being defined in the 1930s by Grierson and his team at the General Post Office after first coming up with the word documentary in 1926, which was defined at that time as the creativity of actuality. Since then, arguments have carried on about the creativity of actuality, as problems can arise over authenticity, as the more creative a documentary is, the less focus it may have. Grierson made documentaries such as Housing Problems and Coalface, which used real people in real situations and environments in an old style of documentary, which had a sense of persuasion. He believed that this is what documentaries should be like. He wanted to give people a glimpse into other people's lives, which had not previously been available to a 1930s audience. This links in with Barnett's theory of disnification. This is because Grierson wanted to make documentaries that reflected reality, creating verisimilitude for the audience. Nowadays, some reality documentaries are staged and therefore do not conform to Grierson's original purpose of a documentary. I personally believe that documentaries nowadays have indeed been dumbed down in order to attract a wider audience and gain viewer ratings. For instance, the documentary series called Benefit Street raised major issues across Britain for a variety of reasons. The channel who produced it, Channel 4, were accused of making poverty porn by exploiting the residents to gain as many views as possible. As a result of this, Ofcom received thousands of complaints, and on social media the residents themselves were receiving death threats. In recent years, I think the purpose of the documentary has changed massively from what Grierson originally envisioned them to be. If documentaries that were made in the last 40 years were compared to ones made in the last 10 years, the difference in content would be very apparent. Nowadays, you'd see many more examples of documentaries that have succumbed to disnification, whereas documentaries that are made in the past would have been more serious and topic-focused. Overall, I believe that dumbing down documentaries can have benefits and drawbacks, but the majority of which are negative effects, and take away the original purpose of what a documentary is meant to be.